As we mentioned, President Trump today said that a Maryland man wrongly deported to El Salvador will not be returned to the U.S., even though the Supreme Court has ruled that the U.S. must facilitate the man's return. To discuss this developing situation, we welcome Roy Herrera, founding partner, Herrera Arellano LLP. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Let's try to, first of all, let's just describe the case. Who is this guy from Maryland? What's happened to him?
So this is an individual that entered the country illegally years ago, I think over a decade ago. And in 2017, he received an immigration judge order that basically prohibited his removal from the United States. The basis of the immigration judge's order was that he would face persecution if he went back to El Salvador. And these kinds of orders from immigration judges are binding on the executive branch. And then if you fast forward to the Trump administration recently, of course, they've increased interior enforcement and deportation actions, and he eventually was arrested and then deported back to El Salvador and is now in El Salvador at this maximum security prison that's sort of notorious for housing MS-13 gang members and things like that.
He was arrested and deported for what? Being here illegally?
Exactly. So what eventually happens, of course, there's litigation. His lawyers eventually file a lawsuit to try to get him back into the United States. And during the course of that litigation, the administration admits that there was an administrative error. That, in other words, they were aware of this immigration judge order, but they deported him anyways, and they shouldn't have done that.
Okay, so the court order expressly forbids deportation. The federal court's judge demands the man's return. He's still in El Salvador. What's going on?
He did. So we get a federal district court judge in the recent litigation, the recent lawsuit, that says you have to get him back. You have to facilitate and effectuate his return. Eventually, this gets appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court, and unanimously, the U.S. Supreme Court says, well, you have to facilitate this. We agree with the district court judge. We don't know quite what effectuate means, so the district court judge needs to sort of figure that out, but it's remanded back to the district court judge to try to make this happen, to try to facilitate his return to the United States.
So the Supreme Court said we don't know what effectuate means, but we do know what facilitate means. What does it mean?
Well, I think you and I would probably take that to mean that now the administration has to use its own efforts to get this person back. The problem is that nothing has happened since this has gotten back to the district court judge. The district court judge is now, since the Supreme Court ruled, has said, you give me 24-hour updates on, the progress of his return. And every update since then, there's been no update. I mean, essentially, this individual is still down at this prison. And then we saw today with the press conference between the El Salvadorian president and President Trump, where Trump basically said, well, I can't do anything about it. And then the El Salvadorian president, of course, said something similar, that I can't do anything about it. I cannot return him back to the United States. So we're kind of stuck in this place where he's still over there, yet we have a federal judge's order saying he has to be returned.
And the Supreme Court, I think it was the Supreme Court, correct me if I'm wrong, mentioned a deference owed to the executive branch in the conduct of foreign affairs. Does that apply here?
So that has sort of been the legal basis that the administration has taken throughout this litigation. It basically is arguing, it's essentially a separation of powers argument. It's saying that the courts cannot interfere on the foreign policy of the United States. That's exclusively in the executive branch, exclusively with the president, and within foreign policy is immigration policy, and so therefore you cannot order me to do anything in that space. Now the district court judges rejected that argument and said, no, actually, I can. This was an unlawful removal, and I'm going to order you to bring him back. But again, we're still stuck in this place where the administration is saying, well, you can't order us to do that.
Yeah, and President called the Supreme Court decree vague, and the trial court, the lower court said, at least try to get him back. That was part of their original order. It doesn't sound like they're trying.
It doesn't sound like it. And again, I hesitate to say we're sort of entering into constitutional crisis. I don't think we're there yet. But the longer this goes, we may be entering that, where we're in this world where essentially we have a federal judge, the judiciary, telling the executive branch, you have to do something, and the president, the executive branch, saying, no, I actually do not have to do that. Of course, if that escalates, if this continues, then I think you're going to probably start seeing the judge thinking about contempt of court proceedings, sanctions, things like that is normally what happens if you defy a court order. But the question here is, are they going to do that against the administration?
And that judge seems like it's fighting back. Seems like the administration's fighting back. They do seem at loggerheads here.
Yeah, it's hard to sort of see what the break is going to be here, because the reality, of course, is the White House is saying, I don't have the power to bring him back. But we all know the reality here. El Salvador is a small country. The president, I think, very clearly could tell the president of El Salvador to do this, but he clearly has not asked him to do that.
I don't understand, again, the administration being discombative. I mean, they admitted they made a mistake. They admitted he was wrongly deported. It was an administrative error, whatever you want to call it. It was, of course, now they're even walking back the idea. Stephen Miller, one of the president's top aides today, said, oh, no, it wasn't a mistake. It was an administrative error or something along those lines. Whatever the case, why fight so hard on this?
I think this has to do with the overall posture of the administration, in that they are taking the view, kind of similar to what we mentioned before, that the courts simply just don't have jurisdiction here, that they are not allowed to tell the executive branch what to do in this area. So, for example, the administration in other proceedings, this doesn't apply in this particular case, is now invoking the Alien Enemies Act, which is another part of federal law, essentially to allow them to deport even more people, including people that are here illegally. And again, it goes back to the same idea that in this particular area, the administration is essentially saying that no one can question us on this. Now, of course, there's litigation related to the use of the Alien Enemies Act, and that's going to also go through the courts. But ultimately, what we're heading towards here is a U.S. Supreme Court decision, I think, on exactly what the parameters of that executive power are. And then there's still the question of whether he's going to listen.
Yeah, indeed. And I think the president, he made headlines by saying, quote, I like the Supreme Court. So it sounds as though who knows what that means, but it also sounds as though he wants it to get to the Supreme Court.
It sounds that way. And, some of the comments that he has made are even a more extreme version of this, which we might start seeing soon, which is to say that, he's indicated in some of his comments that he believes that the power to remove people from the country because they're criminals, for example, may even extend to U.S. citizens. And in fact, the 3 liberal justices of the U.S. Supreme Court in that recent decision wrote that that is essentially what we're heading towards here, where this administration is claiming the power to do that. Now, of course, if that were to happen, that's an even more elevated situation that is going to be even more combative, I think.
Is that before or after or even involving due process?
Well, so the thing that's interesting in the Alien Enemies Act cases, which again is not this particular case but is involved in other removals, is that the U.S. Supreme Court has said that there should be due process, that if you're going to be removed under this act, you have to have some form of due process, usually through what's called a habeas proceeding in the area where the person lives, where they're deported from. And that's, the courts will have to provide some due process. Again, it's unclear whether the administration is going to listen to this. And going back to the individual in El Salvador that we started talking about, I mean, he wasn't afforded any due process, of course, right? He was arrested, and then through due administrative error, he was deported. So we haven't even got to the sort of merits of this. The administration's claiming that, he was somehow part of MS-13. Him and his lawyers are saying that is absolutely false. The judge in the district court case has basically said, I've not been presented any evidence that he's part of MS-13. So if there was to be due process, you would assume then that would be when the administration would present this evidence. But my suspicion is that it does not exist.
Roy Herrera, again, Herrera Arellano LLP, and one of our go-to guys when it comes to, boy, this isn't it fascinating? It's like a law class every day with this.
It is, and this is one of many areas where there's open new questions, legal questions that the U.S. Supreme Court are going to have to deal with.
Good to have you here.
Thank you.